Hi, welcome to another weekly reading vlog. So this week, the Get Graphic With It readathon is going on, and I wasn't planning on doing that readathon. However, today, I did go to the library, and these were waiting for me, so maybe I am doing the Get Graphic With It readathon. I don't know that these will cover all the prompts because they're basically just two different series, because the latest Paper Girl edition came out and my hold came through for that, and then I saw that the first 5 volumes were also all available at the library, and I thought, why not just reread all of those and then read the last one, read the whole series in one go so that I remember what happened. So I'm going to be doing that, and then also similar story, the 4th volume of Monstrous came through. I love the art in this series, but I am so mega confused about what the hell is going on. But Joshana suggested, what's her channel name? She was saying that she went back and reread some of it, I think, and recommended rereading some of it. And that would help make it make more sense. And I think I might just like really pay attention to who the characters are and not get confused. Maybe I'll even write some notes. But I just love the art, and I love some of the characters because it has like this demon and also these half animal, half humans, and it's just the most beautiful series. So I am excited to reread this and read the last volume. So that means I've got like 10 graphic novels there that I'd like to read this week. Which wasn't really the plan, and I mean I don't have to read them this week, but since the readathon's on about graphic novels, then I guess I may as well read them, right? And participate in the readathon and see how many prompts I can tick off. I don't know, I tend to, whenever I just pick up readathons at the last minute, let it disrupt my whole life, and I really shouldn't do that this week. So we'll see. Mainly, my goals for this week's reading are supposed to be finishing off the Dark Vault. So I read the Archived last week for Spookathon, and then this week I want to finish off the Unbound, which I have started, but I haven't got very far into it yet. And also, I finally want to read Peeps, which I borrowed from my sister about 1,000,000 years ago. I don't even know much about it other than it's got strange vampires in it. But I actually want to return this so that I can borrow the Diviners from my sister, because she's got that, and I know there's a Diviners read-along happening, and I've been meaning to read that for a long time, so why not participate in the read-along? But kind of have this thing with my sister where we just borrow one book from each other at a time, and like I don't want to steal all her books. So if I want to borrow that, I've got to read this one first. But I did put it on my October TBR, so I was planning on reading it anyway. So those are going to be my reads this week. Also audiobooks, I'm listening to The Near Witch by Victoria Schwab, which I actually have already listened to quite a lot of it because today I needed to take my mum and her cat to the vet because my mum doesn't have a car at the moment, and he managed to get his paws stuck in something that he really shouldn't have been touching, but he needed to go to the vet just to get untangled and like make sure he was okay. And while she was in the vet, I sat in the car and listened to a large amount of The Near Witch. I do think that it really shows how much Victoria Schwab's writing has improved since then. There's a lot of like really short sentences, and when the narrator of the audiobook's speaking them, it sounds very unnatural. And like Victoria Schwab is really well known for her really cool concepts, but so far the concept of The Near Witch does not really live up to that reputation. It's her first book, so we're not expecting it to be the most amazing. So I'll finish that, and then also, if I'm going to read all the audiobooks that I have here before they return themselves, I need to read Access Restricted by Gregory Scott Katsolis, which was the sequel to All Rights Reserved that I read a couple of weeks ago. And then I also have Aurora Rising here, which I really want to read. So we've got a few. I actually think in the other library app, I haven't... Unfortunately, my library has too many audiobook apps. They have Libby, and they also have BorrowBox, and I've still got 18 days for the humans. I'm okay. It's a little bit hard managing the 2 apps because I'm kind of worried that while I'm focusing on getting through my Libby ones, I'll miss my BorrowBox ones, but I've only got one BorrowBox one. So it shouldn't be that hard to manage, but it is, because like there's a lot of things in life, and how do you keep track of them all, right? Anyway, that's pretty much my intro. I'm supposed to be sorting out my booktube videos today, but I've been kind of slow today, So I'm gonna try and do that, and then hopefully the rest of the week can be more interesting. Hi! So, I was supposed to be going into town this evening for this event at the university, but town's on fire, so I'm not going to be doing that. So basically, they're building this big fancy new convention center across the road from the Sky Tower in town, and something happened and the roof caught fire, and it's been like 4 hours now since that happened, and they still haven't got it under control. Like, I've had to close a bunch of roads and the traffic's a nightmare, and I think they said they might get it under control soon, but it's kind of like just crazy. There's like smoke everywhere. From the top of my driveway you can see across to the Sky Tower, and I could see all the smoke coming off when I went up there earlier, so it's just kind of crazy. So I'm kind of disappointed I couldn't go to the event in town, but at the same time, like, just don't want to be involved in any of that, and I hope that they get it under control soon. So since I can't go into town tonight, instead I'm just going to spend the night reading. I'm going to try and actually finish off the Unbound from the Dark Vault. I've made a little bit of progress, but not much, and then I'll try and make some progress on the Get Graphic With It stuff. So I'm going to start with Paper Girls, and then I'll also do some of the like non-reading challenges. So Get Graphic With It has a few, like read while having a hot drink, read in a comfortable seat, and I think read a whole thing in one time, so I can probably read this in one sitting. So I'll try to get started on that, as well as finishing the Unbound. What else happened today? This morning I did a whole bunch of like outside housework stuff, and while I did that I listened to The Near Witch and I finished it off. In the end, I can't tell whether it was the audiobook narrator that I didn't really like or whether it was the writing style that I didn't like, but still, I don't think the story was good enough that I would be willing to reread it in physical form just to figure out whether it was better in physical form. But it was still good to have read it. Like, it was an okay story, just not as amazing as some of Victoria Schwab's other stuff, and I guess now I know about how much she has improved as a writer, which just goes to show that you can improve. Yay! So I'm gonna go and get some reading done, and I guess later I'll let you know how that's going and whether they've managed to stop the fire. Although by the time you're watching this vlog, hopefully they will have sorted out the fire, because it's already been burning long enough. Good morning. So, an update on the fire first. It's still burning. It's like 20 hours later because they decided that the roof was too dangerous to try to put out because it's too flammable and it's too difficult to get to, so they're just letting it like burn itself out, which they don't really know how long that will take, and they're trying to protect everything around it, but then it's really windy today, so that's not helping. They had to evacuate the TVNZ building, which is right next door, and that's disrupting the news, which is crazy. So lots of craziness going on with the fire. Who knows when that's going to finish. They're like telling everybody to try and avoid the central city, so craziness. So I will admit, last night I was distracted a little bit by that from my reading. I also got distracted because I had this idea for my magic system in my NaNoWriMo project, and I made this big crazy scribble on my whiteboard, which has definitely helped, and I feel more prepared for Nano next month, but I've got a lot more that I really should do this month for that, and there's not much left of the month. Yeah, I need to fit some more of that in. Also, so that means I didn't read as much as I wanted last night. I was probably quite delusional, thinking that I would finish the Dark Vault and be able to start on some graphic novels. I didn't quite finish the Dark Vault, but I've only got like less than 100 pages to go, maybe like 50 pages, because there is like a little short story at the end of this as well. So I am going to finish this today, easy, definitely, and then we'll get to some graphic novels. I also need to do some study today, some more NaNoWriMo prep, maybe some more housework depending on the weather, and also just keep an eye on the fire, because like, it's so crazy. Hi, so I'm in bed. I'm about to read some graphic novels for the Get Graphic With It readathon. I'm gonna tick off being in a comfortable spot, also reading something in one sitting, and I've even got a hot drink I don't normally drink hot drinks, but I made myself a hot chocolate specially, so I'm going to drink that, and then I'll tick off 3 challenges just like that, and probably one for whichever book I pick up. I have a couple of plans. So firstly, I mean, I've got all these paper go ones that I had already talked about, but I also stopped by the library because they finally delivered to me the 6th and final volume of the Descender series, which I'm super excited to read because I've been loving this series. I'm kind of sad about it ending, and the cover is kind of crazy because I keep thinking that it's like broken, like that something's ripped off the front, but there is like a little tiny robot boy in the middle of that big white flash. Anyway, I'm excited to read that. But some other updates. Firstly, the fire is still burning like 30 hours later, which is crazy, although I think it's almost under control, but still burning. And the whole city is a bit of a mess because of it. So it's just crazy. And I read like they use like 12 million liters of water on it. So it's a big deal here. But also, I got some books, which is like a big deal for me. So we're going to talk about some books. So firstly, I got a package from Book Depository. I'm balancing my camera on my knee, so if it falls over, that's why. So it's open this. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I think maybe I know. Ow. I'm so bad at opening things. Okay, so the book that we have got is Sharpest Sting by Jennifer Estep. So this is like the 17th book in this Elemental Assassin series that I really love. I mean, it's just like paranormal fantasy. It's got vampires and elemental magics, and we follow this girl who's an assassin. They're really like action-packed, fast reads, and even though we're on the 17th book, they're somehow not boring, even though they are quite formulaic. Anyway, I usually try to give these books to my mum, although recently I think the author has started self-publishing, which is why they're now this funny size. They used to be like quite little and compact, and I actually prefer the smaller size, but I guess if she's self-publishing, she's making more money from it? Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe they said, hey, we've already put out 15 of these books, we're tired of putting them out, but she wanted to continue. Anyway, I think this cover's quite pretty. So I'm going to pre-read this before I give it to my mum. So I'm probably having to put that on my November TBR. My November TBR is out of control already. You guys just wait. It's a mess. Anyway, also, I finally managed to stop by the little library that I discovered Sunday on my last vlog, and I picked up some books. So I've got these 4 here. Firstly, I picked up Camp Fear by Carol Ellis. So this is like, it's actually not a point thriller, but it's a little like YA thriller from about the time when I was young. When was it published? 1993. Ooh. This would have been published like right at the time when I was reading all of these, or maybe slightly after. I do think I remember reading this, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to read that at some point. I also picked up Alex by Tessa Duda. So this is a New Zealand author, and I kind of got this idea of some point in the future reading a whole bunch of New Zealand books, and the Alex series is one that I was thinking of. Also, this book, hang on, let me get my balancing. So firstly, it's got like a little butterfly clipped out of the cover, but also it's signed by Tessa Duda, so that's pretty good for a free book from a little library. I mean, it's not an amazing book, but still exciting. I also got Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. I don't know what this is about, but Celeste Ng is a well-known author, and I'm sure I've heard people talking about this. I thought, why not pick it up for free? And the last one is the one that I'm the most excited for, and that is The Kneebone Boy by Ellen Potter. So this is an old library book, but I read on Goodreads that people were comparing this to like a series of unfortunate events, and a lot of people really loved it. I love the picture on the cover. I think it's the beginning of a series, but I mean, the beginning of the description says, "The hardscrabble children are weird." I'm excited to read that one too. But honestly, I have way too many books to read. But I thought there was a pretty good little haul from a free library. I also noticed, like, since I discovered it, like when I discovered it, it was like all nicely organized, just 2 shelves of books. And when I went back today, there was so many more books crammed in there. So I guess some other people have discovered it and crammed books in. Anyway, I am going to go and read some of these graphic novels, and then I'll probably talk to you again tomorrow. Hello? Hello? Hi, so it is Friday now. Yesterday I didn't get much reading done because Jace came around, and then also we went to dinner with my family since next week my brother moves to Australia, which is going to be super sad to see him go, but also exciting that he's off living his life. So also, yesterday morning when I went outside, right outside my house, there is this tree. Basically, when they built the house, they obviously thought, let's put nice trees on either side of these steps. But please, if you're going to plant trees on your property, do some research into how big they get when they're full grown. So these trees, one of them actually died off, and the other one got massive. It cracked the steps, and then it had like this big trunk like spilling over onto the top of the concrete. And I came out yesterday morning and I thought, I'm sure that tree is on more of an angle than it used to be, and it had already previously lost like half of it, just sort of slowly fell down and lay down on the side of the house actually, and we pushed it down properly. But so I noticed that this tree was definitely leaning over because the bit that had been flat on the concrete was suddenly like raised up, and I would have just left it to slowly fall down by itself. But Jace is a much more responsible adult than me, so he said, let's chop it down. So we chopped the bits off the top, and when I say we, I mean he chopped the bits off the top, and then we, and I mean we this time, we pulled the rest of it down. So now the roots are all sticking up, and it's kind of crazy, but we're just going to leave it there now. The last bit we just left there, and after about a year it's kind of rotted away and gone. So we'll just do that with this bit because it's massive, and getting rid of it would be a pain in the butt. But now, instead of having this big tall tree outside my house, I have this fallen over tree. Also, I used to sometimes find like rubbish outside my house, like chocolate wrappers and stuff, and then I thought that they were blowing down from the neighbor's house. But then one day I saw this black bird drop this chocolate wrapper, a Kit Kat wrapper, right onto my front path, and I was like, it's been you little shits doing it all along, hasn't it? And then at the top of this tree, I found this nest that's full of chocolate wrappers. So hopefully now those birds will go somewhere else and stop dropping rubbish in front of my house because it's annoying. So that was probably the most exciting thing that happened yesterday. As far as reading goes, I did finish Paper Girls 1 the other night, and I actually liked it more than I remembered from the first time I read it, so that's good. I wonder if it's just that I've gotten more used to reading graphic novels and I know how to consume them now. But I thought it was okay, nothing amazing. I think I'd give it 3 stars. Some of the art is really nice. I love the colors of this edition, especially. So later today I'm going to try and continue this series. Also, I read volume 6 of Descender, and it was such a good ending to the series. I really enjoyed it. And after this, I'm going to have to pick up the next series. So there's going to be another series called Ascender, and it's going to follow the daughter of some characters from this, and I'm so excited to read it. I have it requested from the library, so when they get it, I will get it, and then I will read it. I definitely recommend this series if you like science fiction and you want to get into graphic novels, or you like graphic novels. This is a really great series, all about robots and humanity, and kind of thinking about our relationship with robots and what it should be like. Anyway, I really loved it. I did also start reading Peeps, which is this Scott Westerfeld book that my sister said has strange vampires, and I can agree, after 50 pages
it's really strange vampires. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. We're just getting going. So I'm going to read some more of this today, maybe some more Paper Girls, and then also try and do some other stuff because it's going to be sunny in the weekend, hopefully. Unfortunately, it's a long weekend, so we don't really want to go away because everyone goes away and the traffic is crazy. But since it's sunny, I want to be outside, probably not reading. So I should try and get my reading done today as well as all the other stuff I want to do. So I'm going to do that. Hi, so it is Monday. As you would have seen, the weekend turned out to be really sunny, and so just spent most of the time going to different beaches. On Saturday we went down to Maraetai and Tapapokanga, and then on Sunday we went up to Whangaparoa Peninsula and saw all the sheep and had a wander around there. It was just a really lovely time. So I didn't get any reading done, and I'm fine with that. But before I went and had all that fun in the sun, I did manage to finish reading the Paper Girls series. To be honest, I liked the first 5 a lot more than I remembered, but then when it came to the last one, I felt similar to what I felt when I first read these ones, so I don't know if it's just that you always need to read these twice to enjoy them. I did think that the ending didn't really wrap up as well as I was hoping it would, but there is some really beautiful art in these, so I think it was definitely worth reading for that. And I did really enjoy the time travel aspect and the war between the 2 different factions. But with the ending the way it is, I'm not really sure what we really achieved with all of that. Anyway, it's an okay series. I don't mind it. And then I also had finished Descender. I don't remember whether I talked about it yet, but I love this ending. I must have talked about it. Did I talk about it with someone else? Anyway, I thought this was an amazing ending to things. I've definitely talked about this, right? Anyway, that means that I read 7 books for Get Graphic With It, which means I actually only managed to tick off about 5 of the challenges, but that's half of the challenges, and like, I wasn't really planning to do Get Graphic With It. It was just an accident. So half the challenges, considering it wasn't planned, it's not bad. So there's a lot of books that I actually have in a not finished status at the end of this reading vlog. I never managed to get to Monstrous, which I was hoping to, so that's going to have to spill over into next week. Peeps, I was meaning to read and I really didn't get very far, like 60 pages. So I'll be continuing that next week as well. I also have here Tales of Suspense, which I didn't read any of this week. I think what I've decided I need to do for this is just find all these stories on audiobook. So I can't find Tales of Suspense on audiobook, but I think a lot of the individual stories are in different collections. So I'm going to just try and find as many as I can on audiobook and read them that way. But probably not in November because I just filmed my November TBR and it doesn't fit in there. And November's busy and I'm not going to read it then. I mean, I did enjoy Tales of Suspense. I just find it quite slow going. And maybe if I had all the time in the world to read it, then I could feel like I could take that time and enjoy it. But I always feel just a little bit stressed about how long it's taken me to get through. So at the moment, it's not worth the stress, unfortunately. Also, the audiobook that I was listening to, Access Restricted, I haven't got through all of that, but I will continue with that next week. So primarily this week I finished all of the Paper Girls series. Also, I read The Unbound by Victoria Schwab and The Near Witch by Victoria Schwab. Although both of those were a little bit of a disappointment, like not that they were bad, I just was hoping they were going to be amazing, and instead they were just average. that's my own fault for putting expectations on a book. Oh, also, I think I forgot to ever give you a final update on the fire. So they did eventually manage to put the fire out. I think it took them like 2 or 3 days. The town got very smoky. A lot of businesses had to close down because of all the smoke. Also, there was an underground car park right next to that building, and it got filled up with water, and the cars on the lower level had water up to their windows. So that's not that great for them. I'm pretty sure that fire is going to end up costing a lot of people a lot of money. But I don't believe anyone was seriously hurt, and it's out now, so that's good. So I'm off to start my next reading vlog because I'm finishing this one up late. But as usual, thanks for hanging out with me this week. I hope you had a good week and that your next week is also good. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.